Welcome to my video about home poker games. I'm Patrick and I will be your tournament director for this video. Most people have played some type of poker in casinos before they run a home poker game. The negatives of a casino poker are the high buy-ins and the pro players. The pros of running a home game are you get to play with the people that you know, and the cash is a little bit more reasonable for most people. Also, before you run a home poker game, you probably should play in some other people's home poker games first. Everyone's rules are going to be a little different, and you might learn some and adopt some for your game. There will be rules that you don't like, and there will be rules that you do. There will also be players that you like and players that you don't. You do not have to invite people that you don't want to play poker with at your home game. I don't have any dogs, but I love dogs, and I would love to have dogs in my house. But at other people's poker games, I really dislike having dogs at the table. They're very distractive, they can make a mess, and it's just not conducive to a good poker game. So let's get into how to run your own poker game. One of the first things that you have to do is plan which night you're going to have the poker game. I suggest you need to be about 2 months out, maybe 6 weeks out, to plan the right night to have your poker game, whether it's a weeknight or a weekend night, and that your regular players that you know are mostly available on that night. The second thing that you need to plan is the start and end times. If you want to run a day game, which I haven't done, I'm sure that'd be fine, but most people play poker at night. Starting really late takes you into the wee hours of the morning. I don't recommend that, but you can do that. I recommend sometime starting around 6:30 or 7 o'clock for most home poker games. Of course, invite all of your regular poker players that you play with on a regular basis, but also invite some of the people that you don't know as well but you have played with. If one of the people that you invite says, "Can I bring a friend?" Of course, but not 5 friends. Limit it to 1 or 2 per person that they're going to bring. You don't want a whole room of people in your house or a couple rooms of people in your house that you don't know. If you put out an open invitation to all of the people that you play poker with, just make sure that you have enough room in your house to do it. You might get enough responses that you'll have to start telling people that they're going to be alternates and you won't be able to guarantee them a seat. On your invite, you need to include directions to your house, even if they know where it is. They like to have directions on the house, and your phone number and your email so they can get a hold of you and respond to you. Also, you have to make sure there's reasonable parking. Walking a quarter mile to your house is really not acceptable for a home poker game. Also, on the invite, you should put down that the house is not going to make a profit on the night. You can say the house will take out a specific dollar amount out of the kitty to pay for food and drinks, and that is it. Oh, and also probably for the trophies. You'll have to decide pretty early if you want to have reservations for the seats when you send out the invitations, or if you're not going to do reservations and just who shows up and you determine the seats and first come, first serve for the number of seats that you have available. I haven't had a game where I had to turn people away, but it's gotten pretty close a few times. Count the total number of tables and the total number of seats in your house, and you can invite probably 5 or 6 people more than the seats you have. My experience is that you'll always have a handful of people at the very last minute in the last few days won't be able to make the game. The next thing that you need to do about 6 weeks out are to order the trophies. I recommend building up over a few tournaments into something pretty fancy. We get a lot of response that people like the fancier trophies. I go with a championship trophy that's worth about $75. It seems to be the right level, something that maybe is glass or something like that. I also do smaller second and third place trophies, maybe individual glasses or shot glasses or bourbon glasses, one each. And then in addition to that, I've done some type of gag gift as a first out trophy, like a plastic cup that has printed a mule's butt on it. As for the food and drink that night, ask your regulars to bring something, whether it's a bag of ice, a couple bags of chips, a couple six packs of beer, or whatever they might want to bring, just to alleviate some of the cost on you. Or if you want to be in control of all of it, just make sure you're going to the grocery store a few days early, because you are going to be feeding 20, 25, 30 people. You'll have to decide if you're going to actually put real food out or just chips and snacks. The real food is a hit, but I'll guarantee you, even if you win while you're playing the poker game, you're not going to come out even. You'll be down for the night. Make sure that you have plenty of water, soda, coffee, beer, and mixed drinks on hand for everyone. Those are priorities over the food. Now into a few of the nuts and bolts about the game itself. I recommend that you start off with $40 buy-ins for each of your tournaments. After a few games, you can go ahead and do a rebuy for another $40. That usually gets the dollar amount up to a level that everyone is comfortable with and no one's really freaking out either. Remember, you're always going to have a couple people that don't know how to play or are new to the game, and you're going to have some regulars that are expecting $500 buy-ins. The 40-40 is a pretty good mix, and everyone seems to be all right with that. If you have a bigger house and you can fit more than 3 or 4 tables, you're going to get a lot of cash no matter what. I recommend trying to do the math and keep the cash down to under $2,000. Anything over than that, then you might want to take some extra precautions. Maybe put the money in a safe. Maybe take it off site, put it someplace. Maybe have a couple of your regulars back you up and make sure that the place is secure, if you know what I mean. While all your regulars can help out with other tasks during the game and during the night, like taking out trash or collecting chips off the table when people chip up, you should be the only person that handles the money. Don't blame anything on anybody. You're going to make mistakes. They're going to make mistakes. You handle all the money. And that means that you want to keep a few $100s extra on hand in case there is some type of mistake. You can swear that the money's right, but you need to make it right at the end of the night. You're the house. You need to make it right. Keep $200 or $300 outside of your betting money that's on hand in case a mistake is made. So about the poker chips, I recommend going with the 11.5 gram clay or slug insert poker chips as a minimum weight. Anything less than that feels like a kid's game to me. You can go with blank chips, blank with no design on them or very little design, but definitely with colors. Or you can go up to the next level and purchase some custom poker chips with custom designs on them. You can get pretty pricey with some expensive poker chips, but people really like the feel of them and like the custom poker chips. If you go up to the top level, you can actually get blank poker chips and use your inkjet or laser printer and print out round labels and make your own poker chips with your own designs on them. But I found that those labels are not as durable as the ones that you might find which are engraved chips or printed chips. You just can't get them the same quality, and eventually they'll wear and they'll look kind of ratty after 4 or 5 games. Make sure what you have on hand includes plastic playing cards. Do not play with paper playing cards. Each table that you have in your house that's going to host one of the tables, you need to have 2 plastic playing card decks, 2 cut cards, and 1 dealer button per table. As for game clocks and software, kitchen timers are fine if you want to do that, or smartphone timers. The next level up is some free poker tournament software. It's a little bit awkward to use. You need to have a PC in the area and running it on a PC. Also, the speakers have to be a little bit louder to announce the blinds. And then you can also choose to go with some more expensive software, but I haven't done that. I use all free poker software. Then you can enter names in the software to run the games, but I don't do that either. I keep names written on a piece of paper separate. And then you can also assign seats using the software, but again, since I don't put in the names, I don't use the software to assign the seats. For setting up the rounds and the blinds, first, you need to figure out how long the game is going to last. I suggest 15 and 20-minute blinds. As the people get knocked out and there's less and less people, the blinds should be being shortened down to about 10 minutes a round so that the game goes faster and faster. The blind's total cumulative time needs to match the maximum game time. I suggest using 25 and 50 as the starting blinds, but I've also seen tournaments use starting chips of 1 and 2. Those work well also. Aim at raising the amount of the blinds on average of 50% per round, but sometimes that's hard to do with the denominations of the chips, but you lean on the higher end than the lower end. I aim for about 200 times the starting big blind for the amount of starting chips I give the players. But if you want the game to be a little bit shorter, then go ahead and aim for about 100 times the starting big blind. I do not recommend using antes in a home poker game. It's just too complicated and someone will complain. For standard tournament rules, verbal declarations are binding, chip movement is binding, tapping on the table means you're checking. Flop the cards all three at one time. Cards talk, and cards that hit the mark are dead all the time. You need to assign one of your regulars or someone you trust to manage each table. Yes, they might get moved later in the game, but you have to have someone there that knows the rules of poker and can make a snap decision on if there's a conflict at the table. If there's a bigger conflict, you're the tournament director, you're going to get called over, and if it's really obscure and someone's saying yes and someone's saying no, you have to make the final call. You determine all the final rulings. Yes, that may mean that one player will get upset and they may never play at your home game again, but that's how it has to be. At the beginning of the game, you have to decide if you're going to assign seats or if you're going to draw a card at the beginning of the night to determine where people are sitting, or just let people take seats. The biggest problem is most of the players don't want to be in a dealer seat. Normally the dealers are across the table from each other in the middle of the table. They don't want to be in those seats. However, somebody has to deal. If someone physically can't deal or really has a problem, then you can go ahead and move them. Don't cause a big problem with it. But remember, that's going to mean that most of the regular people that you choose are going to be dealers. For Texas Hold'em games, the rules are pretty much obvious that you've seen in the casino and other people's games. The pre-flop, flop, turn, and river. There's not much more that you can add to that. I've run one Omaha high-low tournament. That was kind of unique. It's not that much more complicated. It actually went a little bit smoother than I thought it was going to go, and I would recommend trying that maybe on your fourth or fifth game. Variations to poker tournaments or add-ons can include best beat bad beat hand, the best high hand, or mystery bounties during the tournament. All of those add a little bit different to each tournament you run. You're in charge of balancing the tables. If one table's at 9 and one table's at 7, you need to stop the clock and move people, or if they're able to move quickly, you can go ahead and move them. But if you're only 2 or 3 tables, I recommend stopping the clock for a time to balance the tables. Also, you're going to have a break at some point. I recommend the break being about an hour and a half into the tournament, and you can go ahead and stop the clock then for a set period of time. Announce the total pot and how much each person is going to win as soon as you know it, as you're doing the math during the game. Take lots of pictures for future vlogs and poker games. And lastly, plan on having a cash game as the tournament winds down. There are going to be a lot of people that want to do that. Hope you enjoyed my video about home poker games. Now shuffle up and deal.